Part 27. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 261. Chapter 261 We won't reshoot. She was well informed. She heard that Xiaoling had moved out of Li Lei's apartment in the past few days. She was very happy at first. However, she also heard that Li Lei often visited her and even cooked and sent lunch boxes to her. Damn it, brother Lei. A bento made by yourself. When did her brother Lei know how to cook for women? Why can this stinky woman in front of me enjoy all this? So shameless. That's why she came to see Xiaoling today. On the one hand, he was laughing at her for breaking up with Li Lei, and on the other hand, he was warning her not to pester Li Lei again. Xiaoling also realized that Ganqing was another jealous and self-righteous person. She was not polite to her enemies, and smiled sarcastically. I wonder who Li Lei is, Miss Gu? What qualifications does she have to say such things to me? Whether he and I break up or not, it is a matter between us. Miss Gu, it's better not to get involved blindly. It would be bad if people misunderstand that Li Lei likes you. You, Gu Lin was so angry that her eyes were red. Didn't brother Lei just dislike her? If brother Lei likes her, why can't she get into the Li family even after trying so hard for so long? However, she will not give up. She firmly believes that brother Lei is dazzled by the vixen in front of him. As long as he drives away this vixen, brother Lei will definitely fall in love with her. The more hatred she felt in her heart, the more she wanted to torture Xiaoling. You ask me what qualifications I have to talk to you. Of course I do. I am the eldest lady of the Gu family. Gu Lin looked at her with disdain. Her aloof posture was like a proud peacock. Yes, Yingling, don't forget you who is the advertisement for? If I say something bad about you, you won't be able to complete the task. Xiaoling looked at her lightly. So? Gu Lin was stunned. Why? Aren't you afraid of this stinky woman? How can you be so calm and relaxed? Miss Gu was unhappy again and became even more angry. So, I want you to reshoot this commercial. There was a buzzing sound, and there were discussions all around. Before Xiaoling could say anything, the on-site chief director was already in a bad mood. Miss Gu, Miss Ye shot this commercial perfectly. There is no need to reshoot, it can be edited directly. He is for a man with a family, his wife and children are waiting for him to finish work and go back to eat. The lighting engineer and props master may not be willing to go through the trouble. Who doesn't want to get off work early? However, Gu Lin glanced at him. I won't do it if I say no. What's wrong? Xiaoling asked with a half smile. Gu Lin was stunned again. What's the problem? Can't this stinky woman see that she is looking for trouble? You actually ask where it's not working. How does she know what's wrong? When Xiaoling was shooting in the pool, Gu Lin stood aside and watched. She had to admit that Xiaoling's photos were very beautiful. Her elegant and ethereal dancing postures gripped people's heartstrings. They were so beautiful that people couldn't take their eyes away. But the more this happened, the angrier Gu Lin became. Why is the stinky woman so good? What's wrong? Gu Lin gritted her teeth and said, everything is wrong. Yes, Yingling, don't you have any self-awareness? You can dance so ugly and still have the nerve to appear in a commercial. If this commercial is released, our Gu family will be completely embarrassed by you. Reshoot. Xiaoling chuckled lightly. It doesn't look good. May I ask Miss Gu, is it because the 3 turns when exiting the water are not done properly? 3 turns. What the hell? Gu Lin's face was a little stiff. Xiaoling laughed again. So there is something wrong with Butterman when twisting. What the is this? Gu Lin's face became even stiffer. None of them. Then what does Miss Gu think is wrong? Little bouncing legs? Swinging dance steps? Facing? You have to give me an explanation. It's a bad sentence and it's so vague. It's really confusing. Miss Gu, You don't actually know how to dance. Who said I don't understand, Gulin retorted subconsciously, but her heart was already pounding. What on earth were the bunch of nouns that this stinky woman just said? She couldn't understand any of them. Sister Mayna laughed unceremoniously and almost wanted to applaud Xiaoling. This is how you should deal with such a mentally retarded young lady. Tisk, tisk, it's terrible to be uneducated, she mocked Gulin mercilessly. After all, he is a child from a rich family, why didn't he learn something well? Do you understand? Do you understand water ballet or do you understand the ethnic group? If you don't understand the dance, don't come to the set and cause trouble, so as not to embarrass the Gu family. The last sentence was because Gulin had just mocked Xiaoling, so Sister Mai Na didn't know how to return it intact. Hence Xiaoling also laughed out loud. It felt very comfortable to have an agent who could fight with her. Gulin was so angry that her face turned blue and white, and even many staff members on the set were hiding their faces and laughing. The tendency of these staff members is very obvious, they all support Xiaoling, because everyone wants to finish work early and go home early, and those who are full will have to stay here to reshoot. Gulin noticed everyone's ridicule and felt embarrassed. She stamped her feet, I don't care. You have to reshoot anyway. Otherwise, no one will get the advertising money this time, she said angrily. He glared at the director of Goose Chable, hey, say something. If you don't ask them to reshoot, I will ask Dad to fire you when I get back. Yes, madam, if you say we will reshoot, we will reshoot. Director Qian Yang wiped the sweat from his forehead and said to the chief director of the cooperative advertising company, Xiao Li, reshoot, hurry up. I see the photo taken just now was really not good enough. It will be better if we take another photo. Keep improving. He had always wanted to please Gulin. Everyone in Goose Chable knew that the chairman was famous for doting on this precious daughter. Gu Da, the young lady, is happy. Getting promoted and making a fortune is a trivial matter, but if she offends Miss Gu, she will no longer be able to stay in this company. The chief director was unhappy. Mr. Qian, this. Qian Yang winked at him desperately. The chief director hesitated, then reluctantly changed his words, okay, let's reshoot. The Gu family is their high-quality client, and they spend a lot of money on advertising every year, so they are not easy to offend. What's more, Qian Yang is quite good at life. Judging from the look in his eyes just now, there should be compensation and benefits in return. The chief director clapped his hands and greeted everyone, come on, everyone, please work hard and shoot again. The lighting and photography crews are ready. Then he turned to look at Xiaoling, Miss Ye, please work hard too. Xiaoling looked at him coldly, without moving or speaking. Sister Mayna frowned, what do you think of my Xiaoling? Just reshoot it if you want. There is a clause in the contract that the filming must meet the requirements of the producer, the chief director said to Sister Mai Na, now that the producer is not satisfied, we have to film until we are satisfied. I hope you will understand. He knew that the big manager in front of him was not as stupid as the eldest lady of the Gu family and was not easy to mess with. Sure enough, Sister Mayna was angry, we won't reshoot. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 262. Chapter 262, Not Giving In. No reshoot, Gulin said arrogantly, that's your breach of contract. So this is how the Gu family treats its partners. Sister Mai Na turned to look at the chief director and Qian Yang, we accept reasonable reshoots. But the current situation is that the eldest daughter of the Gu family has a crush on us. If you are not a good boss, let's take it out on the woman that the boss likes. Haha, Miss Gu is frustrated in love, so she just wants to improve her career? I'm sorry, we won't tolerate such childish and boring things. She revealed Gulin's little thoughts at a glance. Gulin's face was burning. She didn't expect Sister Maina to speak so directly. Why did she have a crush on Lilei? As a girl, is there anything more humiliating than pursuing a man and being rejected? I don't, she yelled, I don't have a crush on Brother Lei. Oh, yes, you are Mingli, and Xiaoling added calmly. Gulin wanted to rush up and tear Xiaoling's mouth apart and attack her viciously. What about you? Yasin Ling, you are the one who was abandoned by Brother Lei. Why are you dragging me? The whole world knows that you are a woman no one wants. These words were too unpleasant to hear, but Xiaoling was not angry at all because it was simply not true. No pain or itching. She looked at Gulin and smiled. Really? No matter how no one wants me, why don't I go to the set and behave like a monkey? She glanced at the chief director, Qian Yang, and the photographers present. Lighting engineers, the monkey threatens you a little, but you don't even want to have basic moral integrity as a human being. Do you really like to be manipulated by the monkey? The scene was completely silent. They are all ordinary people who support their families through hard work. How can they be willful? Even if Miss Gu makes unreasonable demands, she has no choice but to endure it. Otherwise, she won't be able to afford food, so how can she have any moral integrity? Many people looked at Xiaoling angrily, hating her for mocking them like this. However, I felt vaguely envious of her in my heart. The girl in front of me had just been dumped, causing a huge fuss, and even the agency was about to be gone. How could she not be afraid of power and not retake the film if she said it was not possible? This little girl, does she really think that her integrity can be used as food? Miss Ye, just feel aggrieved, the chief director couldn't help but advise, just for the sake of. For money, Xiaoling smiled. I'm sorry, I'm not down to the point of kneeling down and licking a monkey jumping up and down for this little money. Her words almost cursed everyone present. But no one could refute. Sister Maina has a headache, this child is too ignorant. If she offends people like this, just let her agent scold her. As a star, she should cherish her own image and not quarrel with others easily. What's the benefit of offending the camera crew? Sister Maina is a little worried. Xiaoling will leave Tianyi soon. With such a temper, what should we do in the future? But at the moment, she can only hide these worries in her heart. On the surface, she still supports Xiaoling to the end. In any case, we won't film. Gulin felt that she was too polite to them. How dare they call her a monkey? Okay, then she will let these two blind women see what a rich monkey is. She walked up to the camera and erased all the previously recorded images in a few clicks. Okay, I've deleted all the images. She looked at the two of them triumphantly. You don't want to reshoot, then this commercial will have to be opened. Is this Gulin an idiot? Xiaoling was shocked. If you open the skylight in your advertisement, what does it have to do with me? Gulin was stunned. Isn't this the advertisement you accepted? You have to be responsible for finishing the filming. Look for whoever you want to film for this commercial. Xiaoling also spent a lot of effort choreographing, studying the special terrain in the pool, adapting and rehearsing again and again regardless of the cold water. However, after all the hard work, the fruits of her labor were deleted when Gulin told her to delete them. How could she not be angry? Still fantasizing about having her reshoot? Just dream. She turned around and said, Sister Maina, why wait? Let's go. Sister Maina also felt that Gulin was too stupid, so when she saw Xiaoling turning around, she immediately followed her. She has been an agent for many years and knows very well when to give in and when not to give in, especially in this situation. Once she gives in, everyone in the industry will think that she and her artists are easy to bully. There are all kinds of difficult events coming one after another. At this time, you must not give in. Looking at their determined backs, Gulin lost her composure. Hey, wait. Are you really not going to shoot anymore? You are breaking the contract. You have to pay liquidated damages. Miss Gu, Sister Maina finally couldn't help it, stopped and looked at her mockingly. Do you think you are qualified to receive liquidated damages? Okay, send a lawyer's letter. If you have any questions, please contact our lawyer. Talk. Also, she imitated Xiaoling and looked around at the film crew present. It's true that the Gu family is a big company, and it is your bread and butter, but don't forget, Xiaoling is now the place is called Tianyi. Xiaoling hasn't left yet. In order not to offend the Gu family, these people dare to provoke Tianyi. All the staff members were excited. Not only could the Gu family not be offended, but Tianyi could not afford to offend him even more. However, there are rumors in the industry that this little star named Ye Xingling will leave Tianyi soon. Tianyi shouldn't be too protective of her, right? As if she had read through their thoughts, Sister Maina sneered. Maina, haven't retired yet. Even if Xiaoling leaves, Sister Maina will always be there. With the mountain of Tianyi at your back, who dares to be disrespectful? The expressions of everyone changed slightly. The chief director said in a respectful tone, Sister Maina, we also have difficulties. Sister Maina glanced at him coldly and helped Xiaoling leave. Behind her, Gulin shouted relentlessly, you won't shoot, right? Okay, if you don't shoot, you won't shoot. There are a lot of artists waiting for our Gu family to choose, isn't it just an advertisement? I'll have someone beat you in minutes exposition. Haha, Xiaoling finally couldn't help laughing and left without looking back. In the locker room, Sister Maina and Wai Wei helped Xiaoling take off her soaked dance clothes and put on a dry and neat dress. While helping her blow dry her hair, Wai Wei was a little worried. Sister Xiaoling, do you think Miss Gu will really find someone to take your place in this commercial? Let her do whatever she wants. Xiaoling was a little tired and half closed her eyes. Wai Wei was still very worried. Why, then our previous hard work will be in vain. Silly girl, Sister Mai Na couldn't help but laugh. Do you think there are many artists in the world as good as Xiaoling? Was that dance in the pool so easy to shoot? If Gulin could find a better person to shoot, Xiaoling is a better person. No, as long as she can find someone who can shoot Xiaoling 7 or 8 times successfully, my name will be written backwards. Gulin really went to find someone. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 263. Chapter 263. Invite Ye Xingling back. I heard it was the Gu family's Star Wings commercial, and many celebrities were rushing to shoot it. At the beginning, it was very smooth to find someone, and many stars would rather lower their appearance fees than accept the job. Being able to shoot such luxurious and stylish perfumes is very helpful for improving one's popularity and worth. Who wouldn't be greedy? Unfortunately, just like when Star Wings was looking for spokespersons, although there were many applicants, none could pass the screening. This dance in the pool is really difficult. Even if a popular A-list actress tried, she would not be able to complete the dance. Either the photos were ugly, or they couldn't even stand firm at all. What's worse, they fell in the water while dancing, and the agency in turn asked the Gu family for compensation for the injuries. Gulin has one head and two heads. Trash, everyone is trash, she lost her temper in the studio. The chief director also had a big problem. It was going smoothly to use Ye Xingling, but something went wrong. How about we invite Miss Ye back, he suggested to Gulin carefully. Gulin glared at him fiercely. You don't want to be a director anymore, do you? The chief director shut up. You can't afford to offend the idiot lady. Director Qianyang and the assistant director were also very confused. When they saw Ye Xingling dancing so beautifully and lightly in the pool, They took it for granted that the dance was not difficult and that anyone with similar skills could film it well, but who knew, all the actresses who participated in the audition couldn't do it, and they all told them, "Isn't it difficult? This is probably one of the most difficult dances." "Miss, what should we do now?" Qianyong eagerly asked Gu Lin for her opinion. Now he was getting anxious. Seeing that the release date was getting closer and closer, the promotion for Gu's new commercial for Musia had already been released. Everything was ready and everyone was watching, just waiting for the filming to be completed. If the sunroof was really opened, it would definitely be an accident. "What else can I do?" Miss Gu stomped her feet. "Is raising you all in vain? Find a way for me." A group of people secretly scolded Gu Lin for being shameless. It was obviously the conflict between her and Yesin Ling that caused the commercial shooting to go so poorly. How could she let her innocent subordinates help clean up the mess? But, how can there be any good solution? Or, change the scene or adapt the dance, the assistant director said. How to change it? Miss Gu seemed to have grasped a life-saving straw, her eyes shining brightly. The assistant director felt that he finally had a place to use, and was very proud. "It's simple. Change the pool to flat ground and simplify the dance movements. Then any actress can dance." Gu Lin hadn't said anything yet, but Qianyong couldn't help it this time. "Miss, this won't work. If you do this, what's the difference between our Gu's commercials and the shoddy commercials of other companies? It's a waste of lower quality. It's a more serious accident than opening the skylight." Now he had to say something. He was trying to curry favor with Gu Lin in order to get promoted and make a fortune, but he wasn't stupid enough to know that if he lowered the grade of the commercial, no matter how much you try to curry favor with Gu Lin, it will be useless. Director Gu and Mr. Gu are afraid that they will fire him directly. Gu Lin ignored him. "That's it? The chief director is not happy either. He is a director and must be responsible for his reputation in the industry. The commercials of Yesin Ling that I shot before were so beautiful and of high quality that people would say that he has good professional ability when word spreads about them. However, what if something shoddy is played? His reputation in the industry is gone. Why didn't he say goodbye before filming this commercial, and why did he get into trouble with an idiot like Miss Gu? Just because he didn't dare to confront Gu Lin didn't mean that he couldn't do something else." On this day, after the meeting, the assistant director helped Gu Lin change the scene, adapt the dance, and find someone. The chief director and director Qianyong met in private to discuss countermeasures. "We can't let Miss Gu keep struggling like this." The chief director handed Qianyong a cigarette. "How about you talk to Director Gu? We all know the importance of the Star Wings, and nothing can happen. Otherwise, if my sign is not protected, you can't even think about it." Qianyong was convinced. However, Mr. Gu is too fond of Miss Gu. Whoever files a complaint on this matter will be in trouble. Don't complain. When something happens, we will be the scapegoats, and we will be doomed. Then. Qianyong took a long drag on his cigarette and thought for a while. Let's send the anonymous letter to the company's internal forum. Under the pressure of public opinion, Director Gu will definitely not ignore it. He was really afraid that Director Gu would he dotes on his daughter to the extent that he obeys his daughter's stupid ideas on such an important project as Star Wings. If the most powerful person in the Gu family is Director Gu, it doesn't matter. The problem is, the one who really sits at the top of power in the Gu family is the old man. The old man is known to be a businessman, and if something happens to Star Wings, he will definitely be furious and disown all his relatives. Qianyong doesn't want to take the blame either. The two of them had decided on a plan. They found an internet cafe that day and sent an anonymous letter using the proxy IP. There was an uproar in the internal forum of the employees of Gu's Chable. It turned out that their idiot eldest lady was going around to cause trouble again. This time, she was having trouble with Tianyi's Yesin Ling. Then we can't just change artists casually for personal grudges. The most important thing is that we didn't change any useful artists. For the Star Wings project, all employees at Goose have put a lot of effort into it. At this time, they are all very concerned about the progress of the situation, and the voice of the shooting style cannot be lowered is getting louder and louder. Of course director Gu saw this anonymous letter and called his precious daughter to ask about the situation. They all bullied me, Gu Lin cried in front of her father, and her makeup was covered in makeup. They actually said that I was mentally retarded. Oh, Dad, you have to treat them well and expel all those who left messages on the forum to scold me. The law does not punish the public. Gu Dong smiled bitterly, not to mention that he didn't know who those anonymous sailors were, so what if he knew them? I'm afraid there are many backbones among them. If so many key employees were fired at once, Gu Corporation might collapse. Lin, listen to Dad and call back the little actress named Yexin Ling. She is the only one who can finish filming that commercial. Otherwise, your grandpa will be angry. Father Gu said distressedly, touch her daughter's long hair. There were still tears in Gu Lin's eyes. I don't. Call her back. Why? Dad, Grandpa won't continue to defend her this time. He was facing her before, wasn't it just for Brother Lei's sake? Now that she has been dumped by Brother Lei, Grandpa will ignore her. Things are never that simple. Although Gu Dong has no lower limit when it comes to doting on his daughter, he still has other ideas. Your grandfather values the wings of stars very much and protects that little star not only because of Li Lei. That little star does have. She is capable of photographing things that others cannot. She is indispensable in Star Wings. Even Dad, you are facing outsiders. Gu Lin was about to cry again. Seeing his precious daughter lose his temper, Gu Dong quickly said, okay, Dad doesn't face outsiders or anyone else. Then what do you want to do about this matter? Gu Lin stamped her feet. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 264. Chapter 264 Insincerity. What to do? Director Gu also wanted to know what to do. For this commercial, Yexin Ling is irreplaceable and we must invite her back no matter what. The question is, how can you vent your anger on your daughter when you invite Yexin Ling back? Director Gu frowned and thought for a moment, then came up with an idea. Here, Xiaoling had long heard about Gu's grandiose search for someone to take photos, and just laughed it off. She was busy with other announcements, and soon she finished taking pictures of all the orders that Tianyi had taken for her. In order to be ready for the last shift, she took extra care in taking these orders, and the quality was better than before. And nothing less than that, it won praise from the notifying party. Thank you, Miss Ye. On this day, after the announcement was finished, the TV station staff sent her out. I really don't understand why Gu wants to find someone to shoot Wings of Stars again. Which actress can be as good as you? Xiaoling said a few words modestly, feeling that it was unfortunate for the Gu family to give birth to a daughter like Gu Lin. This time the two clashed, and everyone in the industry said that Gu Lin was unreasonable. For a little bit of jealousy, she actually lowered her status, got into trouble with her crush's ex-girlfriend, and ruined her own career. Now Gu Lin has become synonymous with the rich second-generation idiot girl. Xiaoling, on the other hand, has won a lot of sympathy. Not only was she abandoned by her boyfriend, but she was also bitten like a mad dog by an unknown woman. The TV station staff comforted her, Ms. Ye, with your ability, you will be a big success just around the corner. Don't worry about the little twists and turns. I don't take it to heart. Xiaoling smiled and said goodbye to the staff. Arrive home. Luoluo went out to catch up on the announcement. She was the only one in the huge apartment. After a while, the doorbell rang. She thought it was Luoluo who came back, so she put on her pajamas and went to open the door. Unexpectedly, it was Li Lei who came in. Hi, Xiaoling. Li Lei greeted her with a smile and shook the lunchbox in his hand. Today I made your favorite grilled scallops. Let's eat together. He now visits Xiaoling's door almost every day. Took the stalking skills to the extreme, making Xiaoling dumbfounded. Sometimes she thought about it, she might as well just live in his apartment. But it's just a thought. Had he not been willing to let her out, their relationship would not have eased. Xiaoling let him in, went to the kitchen and poured him a glass of water, while she concentrated on unpacking the lunch box. Sure enough, it was the grilled scallops that she loved to eat, and she took special care of her taste by mashing the garlic and black beans very finely. Lilei came over as if asking for credit. Do you like it? Everything you cook is delicious. She told the truth with her conscience in mind. If this man wasn't a boss, he could definitely be a chef. He was smiling happily and contentedly, just like a gentle and harmless big cat. With a meow sound, a group of small figures came over in the living room. Ah, Mao Duanzi. Xiaoling turned around and saw the cute kitten beside her legs. This was the one she picked up at the door of the recording studio. When she moved, it moved with her from Lilei's apartment. Go out. She named it Maduanzi because it was so furry and cute. Have you brought anything to Maduanzi? Xiaoling asked. Mao Tuanzi likes to eat the dried fish from Lilei's family, so now she feels more and more confident in arousing him. Bring it, Lilei said, skillfully preparing a small fish meal for Mao Tuanzi. The cat food was mixed with fresh meat, which was particularly sweet and delicious. Mao specially left this for Mao Tuanzi. Lilei watched as the kitten ate one bite at a time. I couldn't bear to eat it myself, so I saved a bite for Mao Tuanzi every time. When will you take Mao Tuanzi back to see Mao? Let's wait until we have time. I will record Awei's song soon. Wei Shaiyin has a song Stray Cat that she has recorded half of. She has to finish recording it anyway before she can leave Tianyi completely. Lilei said. Announcement. By the way, Uncle Gu came to see me today. Which Uncle Gu? Gu Lin's father. Lilei finished feeding the cat and came over to eat with Xiaoling. He wants to invite you to go back and shoot Wings of the Stars. He asked me to persuade you. Xiaoling was a little surprised. Did she ask Lilei to persuade her? Why doesn't he do it himself? It's shameless, Lilei said easily. He is so old and he cherishes his status. How can he have the nerve to bow his head in front of a little girl like you? Haha, Xiaoling took a bite of the scallop. Why didn't her daughter respect her status when she bullied me? This girl is really vindictive. Lilei shook his head and smiled. Linlin has been spoiled since she was a child, and she does things without considering it. Are you really as knowledgeable as her? I want to be on the same level as her. What's wrong? Xiaoling also had a willful temper. She looked at Lilei angrily. Are you going to favor her? Also, don't call her Linlin. Are you jealous? Lilei was elated. Your whole family is jealous. Xiaoling put down her bowl and chopsticks and turned away from him after eating. Lilei shamelessly held her back. His Xiaoling is really jealous. Under the soft light, he looked at the faint blush on her cheeks and smiled. Okay, don't be angry. If I don't call her Linlin, wouldn't it be okay if my whole family would be jealous? But the corners of his eyes and eyebrows were full of joy. At one time, he was uneasy about letting her go, fearing that Xiaoling would become even more distant from him. But now it seems that the results are still very good. Seeing that he had a good attitude towards admitting his mistake, Xiaoling softened a little. Then what did you tell Uncle Gu? Didn't he ask you to persuade me? What did you say? Lilei smiled. I asked him not to get involved. Gu Lin caused this matter. If we really want to be sincere, Gu Lin should come directly to beg you. Maybe it's because he is usually too polite to the Gu family's father and daughter, but Gu's father unexpectedly naturally, he ordered Xiaoling to go back and told him that he would punish Xiaoling and cure her disrespectful temper. Lilei was very unhappy after hearing this. How could he help him persuade Xiaoling? The Gu family has not yet understood the situation. Do they really think that their Xiaoling is so easy to be manipulated? Thinking of this, Lilei added, if Uncle Gu comes to see you, don't let him persuade you to go back so easily. The Gu family is more anxious than you now. You should show some sincerity no matter what, and don't take advantage of them. Xiaoling thought deeply, what's the point of parents coming? If you want to come, it's Gulin who should come. Humph, if you don't admit my mistake, how can I help them shoot again? Wei Shaiyan is halfway through the creation of Stray Cat. Xiaoling has been making music for 2 lifetimes, so she knows exactly what kind of stunning and sensational effect that song will have. By then, her worth will be completely different from what it is now. The Gu family still wants to exploit her? No way. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 265. Chapter 265 Begging for Help. Lilei's inaction made Gu's father very unhappy. Father Gu made a few more calls to urge him, showing off his elder's style and asking him to deal with Ye Xingling as soon as possible. In Father Gu's eyes, what if Lilei is the little grandson of the Black equals Daoli family? He is just a junior from a well-connected family, and sooner or later, this junior will marry his own daughter. My Linlin is so good, how can she not marry the man she loves? In other words, Lilei will call him father-in-law sooner or later. Father Gu thought unhappily, is this Lilei's attitude towards his future father-in-law? On the phone, his voice became a little more stern. Xiaolei, what's going on with your evasiveness? Even if Ye Xingling's contract with Tianyi is about to be terminated, isn't it still unresolved? As the boss, it doesn't take a minute for her to apologize to Linlin, why make it more and more ugly? He was anxious. This matter must be resolved as soon as possible, otherwise, if the old man found out, Gulin would not be able to enjoy the good fruit. Lilei smiled respectfully and gently, Uncle Gu, Xiaoling's temper is even more stubborn than your daughter's. How can there be any reason to bow to others? What's more, this matter was not her fault in the first place. So, her manager and I say hello to everyone, we are discussing business, please send someone here to talk to Xiaoling's agent. Xiaolei, are you really merciless? Gu's father was angry. Favor will eventually run out. Lilei's voice was slightly cold. Uncle Gu, do you still remember what happened at the Emperor's reception last time? You and Gulin embarrassed Xiaoling in front of so many celebrities. At that time, as I said, it won't happen again. Father Gu choked, vaguely remembering what he said. Damn it, isn't he just a little star? You've already broken up with her, and you're still so protective of her. That's between Xiaoling and I, Lilei said calmly. Uncle Gu, if nothing happens, I'll hang up first. He hung up the phone calmly and sent someone to tell Sister Maina that if Mr. Gu comes to see asterisk, don't be polite to them. Those who dare to provoke him will have to pay a price. Even family friends are no exception. Father Gu was so angry that he smashed the phone in the office. Gulin looked at him anxiously. Dad, how about it? Brother Lei, won't he agree? Your brother Lei is really dazzled by the vixen, Father Gu cursed angrily. In a blink of an eye, he saw Gulin's face turn slightly pale, tears in her eyes were ready to cry, and she felt distressed. Girl, don't be afraid, Dad will help you think of ways to. What can you do? Gulin lost her temper. Dad, how come you can't even handle this little thing? Call that stinky woman Ye Xingling back for filming, otherwise, I will be sent to the Green Island girl by Grandpa. It's school. I don't want to go there. She got into big trouble one year and was sent to Salvadeo girls' school by Mr. Gu, who told her to behave herself. It was an isolated place with strict school rules. The girls all wore long black skirts and had their hair cut extremely short. They were as ugly as nuns. They also had to go to mass for 3 meals and eat vegetarian food. She was crazy to want to be sent back. Father Gu was reluctant to send his daughter back. I sent someone to contact Yesingling's agent at this point. I could only listen to Lilei and go find Sister Maina. No matter how much reluctance Gu's father felt in his heart, he had to lower his stance due to the situation. He thought his posture was low enough. Unexpectedly, Sister Maina asked them to lower their posture. Gu's Chable? We been having a hard time with it a while ago. Looking at the people sent by the Gus, Sister Maina smiled as coldly as a queen. Want to ask Xiaoling to go back? Okay, show your sincerity. The people of the Gu family understood that they could not invite Yesinling without some blood this time, so they gritted their teeth and asked, what kind of sincerity? 10 times the appearance fee. What? Why didn't she rob this agent? The people in the Gu family are crazy. Originally, Yesinling accepted this order because Mr. Gu nodded for Lilei's sake. He had a high-level relationship and the appearance fee was the highest. If it were doubled on that basis, if it's twice that, then wouldn't Mrs. Gu become the one who was taken advantage of? Don't want to? Forget it. Sister Maina looked unwilling to talk more. She received Lilei's order and deliberately made things difficult for Gu. With the instructions from the big boss, she was very confident in putting on airs. Xiaoling has suffered so many grievances during this period, and it's time to vent her anger. Can it be cheaper? Gu's man asked tentatively, with a pained look on his face. Twice as much. Sister Maina looked at him coldly. 3 times. Sister Maina turned around and was about to leave. Hey, don't. You stay, you stay. Gu's people quickly grabbed her. Sister Maina, it's not that we are stingy, it's that 10 times the standard is too outrageous. Even if you invite a red star, it's not that expensive. Can you be a little more accommodating? Are you finished? Sister Maina raised her wrist to look at the time. I'm very busy. He is about to take another step. The people of the Gu family were desperate and did not dare to talk anymore, so they quickly said, okay, if you say 10 times, it will be 10 times. The chairman of the board issued a death order to invite Yesinling back no matter what. If he fails to complete this task, the chairman will definitely tear his skin off. Sister Maina stopped, but still looked at him coldly. 10 times, 10 times. Gu's people smiled cautiously. Then it's settled, let's reschedule the boot time. Who said I promised to turn on the phone? Sister Maina sneered. Ah, didn't you say 10 times? 10 times true, but this is only one of the conditions. Sister Maina still sneered. Sister, my dear sister, don't go too far. The Gu family member was just halfway through speaking when he saw Sister Maina turning around again and quickly changed her breath. What other conditions are there? Tell me. I want Gu Lin to come and apologize to Xiaoling. Sister Maina got straight to the point. How is this possible? The Gu family member was very painful. Our eldest lady has a bad temper. She agreed to let Miss Ye go back to shoot. It is already very good. How can she bow to Miss Ye? What do you mean she agreed to Xiaoling's return? Sister Maina raised her eyebrows. Watch your wording. Yes, Gu's man wiped his sweat. It's the eldest lady who asked Miss Ye to go back. Please, Sister Maina continued to raise her eyebrows. It's a please, that's right. Gu's people looked at her in confusion. Think again. Sister Maina, please stop embarrassing me. Gu's people were going crazy. Since it's not an invitation, then tell me what it is, and it will be what you say. Then listen carefully. Sister Maina was not polite to him and looked at him coldly. Now it's Xiaoling who refuses to take the photo. You guys, Mrs. Gu, are trying your best to save it. Mrs. Gu is here to beg us this time. Please, do you understand? It was Gu Lin who begged Xiaoling to go back. Beg. That's right, isn't this just asking for help? But, Sister Maina, is it really okay for you to be so straightforward? The person sent by the Gu family was also a boss, but he actually felt very humiliated. It was all the fault of the mentally retarded young lady in his company. Otherwise, how could he be so angry with a woman for no reason? However, in order to calm things down, he still said, "Yes, please, please. Get this matter settled as soon as possible and get out of trouble as soon as possible. Whatever Sister Mayna says, just do it." "Very good, you also admitted that you are just asking for help." Sister Mayna nodded with satisfaction. Since Gulin is asking for help, she must adopt the attitude of asking for help. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xiaoweiniang. Chapter 266. Chapter 266 Born to be Elegant. Xiaoling received a call from Sister Mayna, saying that the matter of Star Wings had been settled and asked her to go back and reshoot. Since the cooperation, she has always trusted Sister Mayna. Since Sister Mayna said it was done, she must have tortured the Gu family severely. She couldn't help but wonder, what did you do to them? Sister Mayna smiled, 10 times the reward. It's really cruel. Xiaoling, a classmate who could get more money, was very happy and praised Sister Mayna on the phone. Sister Mayna continued to laugh, "You are so happy with this little thing? Let me tell you, there is even greater fun. Just wait for Gulin to bring you tea and water." Gulin brought her tea and water? Xiaoling was confused, but when she arrived at the filming site, she understood Sister Mayna is really more ruthless than everyone imagined. She didn't know what means she used, but she actually asked Gulin to bring her tea and water. In front of everyone, Gulin walked up to her with a teacup and said firmly, "Yes, Ling, drink tea." Everyone was shocked. What's wrong with this mentally retarded young lady? She's actually willing to be condescending? Gulin felt uncomfortable being looked at by everyone, so she couldn't help but increase her tone of voice, "Hurry up and take it over, let's drink tea." Did they think she wanted to serve tea and water to the stinky woman in front of her? Not at all. When the person sent by the Gu family to negotiate with Sister Mayna brought back this request, Gulin flew into a rage and clamored on the spot to ask her father to fire the negotiator who was cheating. However, Father Gu said, "Lin, Yasin Ling is really unwilling to give in, so you should bear with it. Otherwise, if the matter gets to your grandfather's ears, he will really send you back to Salu Island Girls' School of." Father Gu was reluctant to let Gulin go over. She was his only precious daughter. Gulin said angrily, "I would rather go to Salvadeo Girls' School." Lin, Gu's father continued to persuade him earnestly, "Originally, if you go to a girls' school and endure it for a while, you will have to suffer for a year. However, these are extraordinary times. Once you leave, are you going to be fascinated by the vixen? A lot of things happen in 1 year, so you have to think clearly." These words set off alarm bells in Gulin's heart. Yeah, why didn't she think of it? If she was imprisoned by her grandfather at the Salve Island Girls' School at this time, she would have fallen in love with that vixen Yasin Ling. Maybe that vixen had this plan in mind. That's why I made the excessive request to ask her to serve tea and water. Humph, do you think this trivial matter can stump her? No. Just serve tea and water. She will still stay in the city. Get close to Brother Lei every day. Gulin has made up her mind, and even she is moved by her own tragedy. She has sacrificed so much for Brother Lei. Brother Lei must be very touched. Well, she has to serve tea and water to that vixen. Only in this way can she show how deceptive that vixen is. Comparing the two, Brother Lei must know who is a good woman and who is a bad woman. Gulin's wishful thinking was shattered. Seeing that Xiaoling didn't take the cup, she urged again, "Hurry up." Xiaoling looked at her with a half smile but not a smile. "Is this your attitude in serving tea to people and apologizing? Today, Xiaoling was wearing a pure white dance dress like that day, with feathers and silver ornaments on her long hair, because it was not official yet. She went into the water to start shooting, and because she was still waiting, she had a soft big red wool blanket draped over her thin shoulders, making her look elegant and gorgeous, and her calm and unhurried temperament faintly revealed a bit of nobility and mystery. In comparison, Gu Lin's facial features were good, but her face was so angry that she really looked like a rough maid in front of her. It's really embarrassing for a young lady to do this. Qian Yang, the director of the Gu family, shook his head and couldn't bear to read any more. He felt that even his own face would be humiliated by his eldest daughter. But Gu Lin didn't realize it yet. Yes, Ling, you said you were fat and you still breathed? I served you tea with my own hands, but you didn't accept it? Why should I answer it? The smile on Xiaoling's lips widened a little, she slightly turned her head and glanced at Wai Wei. Wai Wei understood, walked up to Gu Lin and said softly, Miss Gu, please give me the tea. Gu Lin saw that this little girl was much more pleasing to the eye than Xiaoling, so without thinking much, she directly brought the tea to Wai Wei. After carrying it, his hands were relaxed and he looked at Xiaoling arrogantly, anyway, I have brought the tea to you. Do you like to drink it? Yes, this little assistant of yours has a lot more eyes than you. Xiaoling looked at her mockingly. She just lost an adult and didn't even know it. Besides, Qian Yang looked like he couldn't bear to look directly at him. Even the chief director couldn't help but mutter to the photographer next to him, do you think this eldest lady of the Gu family is stupid? The photographer shook his head and said, you can't get rich for more than 3 generations. After 3 generations, there will be dandies. It takes me 3 generations to raise a noble. The chief director disagreed, glanced at Gu Lin, and sneered in a low voice, but this Gu family has not been able to raise any nobles. This unruly young lady has probably given her all the etiquette lessons. Dog, not even as good as a grassroots star like Ye Xingling. It seems that the education at Tianyi training camp is better than that at the Gu family. For a while, many people sighed. Gu Lin saw everyone whispering, sighing, or looking at her with disdain, and finally realized that something was wrong. She couldn't help but loudly ask a staff member next to her, what are you whispering to each other? The staff member saw Miss Gu looking for trouble and was afraid of getting into trouble. He quickly lowered his head and said, no, it's nothing. The lighting engineer he looked into the distance in a hurry, wait, I have something to do with you and ran away quickly. Gu Lin felt something was wrong even more. She couldn't help but vent her anger back on Xiaoling, hey, I said all the assistants you have are smarter than you, and you are really pretentious. You refused to take my tea. In the end, you still want to drink it? By this time, Wai Wei had already brought Gu Lin's cup of tea to Xiaoling. Xiaoling took it with her white hands, elegantly, and drank slowly. Although there was only one assistant beside her, her calm demeanor and leisurely look made her look like a noble princess, with everything in front and behind her. Some people are obviously real eldest ladies, but they can turn themselves into a nouveau riche. Some people are obviously alone in the sea of people, but they are like born nobles. Xiaoling took a sip of tea and put the quilt back into Wai Wei's hand. Wai Wei took it carefully and carried it down for processing. You don't even have the qualifications to hand something over to me with your own hands. Xiaoling always had a nice voice. She had won a round and was in a good mood. She said to Gu Lin with a hint of laziness, listen to Li Lei, you also went to a noble girls' school. Why, your etiquette teacher didn't teach you that you can't accept things handed over by lowly people with your own hands? Do you have to pass them on through subordinates? Gu Lin finally realized what was wrong. She has never been impatient with etiquette classes and has long returned what she has learned to the teacher. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 267. Chapter 267 $100. Gu Lin's face turned blue and white, and she wanted to dig a crack in the ground and crawl under. Everyone looked at her jokes with interest. To be honest, it would not be so embarrassing if Miss Gu lost to an opponent from the same family background. The key is that she lost to a little star now. Yasin Ling is a serious commoner girl. In terms of background and upbringing, how can she compete with comparable to a young lady? However, she happened to be more knowledgeable and temperamental than Gu Lin, and the comparison between people was irritating. Xiaoling held Wei Wei's hand and stood up, passing by Gu Lin, carrying a faint scent of wind. "Start shooting when you're ready," she told the chief director. "Finish the shooting as soon as possible and finish the work as soon as possible." The chief director nodded and ordered the staff to get in place and start shooting. The filming went very smoothly. Xiaoling has such an ability that she can pass any difficult dance in one go. The pool that has been damaged by the sinking sand has destroyed countless popular actresses. To her, it is like her own back garden, where she can dance and swim with ease. A real elf can only do this in a dream. Everyone was fascinated, attracted by her light and gorgeous dance, and couldn't take their eyes away. Watching Xiaoling dance is a kind of enjoyment. Not to mention criticizing her, even slight interruption is a kind of blasphemy. She landed on the shore with ease, crystal water drops flowing along the tips of her hair, beautiful and touching. I don't know who took the lead in applauding. Miss Ye still dances well. A new handyman who didn't know about Gu Lin and Xiaoling's grudges smiled and praised, "I used so many female stars before, but they couldn't complete this dance. As soon as Miss Ye came here, she danced well. I can finish work smoothly." He was happy. He finished work early and received his daily salary early. When he got home, he could also take a detour to the market to buy pancakes for his children. Xiaoling smiled and said, "I've tried this twice." The young worker was flattered to see such a beautiful female star talking to him. You can take such a good photo, why would you bother to do it twice? It's so inappropriate." No, I'm not saying that you can't take the photo well. Okay, I mean, who would be so ignorant as to let a perfect person like you reshoot it? Everyone's eyes turned to Gu Lin. Gu Lin just felt embarrassed that she had been thrown into her grandma's house, and shouted, "Qian Yang! Why do you let all the cats and dogs in here? What qualifications do those handymen have to be here? Don't you even clear the place?" "Clearance?" Qian Yang complained in his heart. "Miss, do you know the meaning of clearing the scene? The so-called clearing of the filming scene is to drive out all the irrelevant people. That little worker is the one carrying the props, not just some idle guy. On the contrary, you, the eldest lady, are the first one to be cleared." On the surface, he had to smile apologetically. Yes, miss, I'll let him out right now." He turned around and scolded the worker with a straight face, "Why don't you just take the money and get out? You're all dirty, don't stand here and be an eyesore." After hearing the reprimand, the worker couldn't understand what was going on. He was fine just now, but why did Qian suddenly look at him angrily? Looking at his confused eyes, the worker next to him couldn't bear to look at him and quickly pulled his sleeve. "Come on, don't make people unhappy here." "But," the worker murmured, "Xiao Zhao still owes me 50 yuan. I have to wait for him to come back. After today, he will go to another crew. I don't know if we will meet him in the year of the monkey or the horse." "Oh, why do you care about the 50 yuan? Why don't you leave quickly?" "Don't worry, you won't even get today's hard work." The worker usually had a good relationship with him, so he lowered his voice and reminded him, "You have offended someone. Do you know?" The worker realized what he was doing, was startled, and hurried out. "Wait a minute," Gu Lin called him. The worker stopped and rubbed his hands awkwardly. "Miss, are you okay?" Gu Lin had just been outshone by Xiaoling and lost her face, and was getting angry. The worker didn't know whether to live or die. Praising Xiaoling, It really hits the point of a gun. Miss Gu was filled with anger and wanted to find an outlet. She turned around and asked the person next to her arrogantly, "How much is his salary today?" 200 yuan. Someone quickly reported the number. 200 yuan? Gulin looked at the laborer with disdain. He was in his 30s or 40 years old, with a poor look on his face. How could he work all day for a job worth 200 yuan? So worthless. What can you do with this little money? It's not even enough to buy a glass of wine. Miss Gu began to show off her superiority. I thought how much money it would cost to let you hold up the female star so eagerly and flatter her shamelessly. You, on the set, if you say something you shouldn't say, you'll be deducted. I think the maximum payment is 100 yuan. She said and glanced at Jianyong from the corner of her eyes. Yes, 100 yuan. Jianyong responded quickly and winked at the person in charge of the accounts. The little worker quit. The $200 we agreed on. Miss, you must be rich because you are dressed so beautifully, but you must also be considerate of us working part-time jobs. I am waiting for the money to pay for my children's tuition. Gulin looked triumphant. She enjoyed this torturous feeling. Who told him not to open his eyes and praise Xiaoling? Stop talking, Jianyong scolded the worker with a stern face. The eldest lady is willing to give you 100 yuan. It's because the eldest lady is kind. If you are still ignorant, you won't even get 100 yuan. The little worker was frightened and closed his mouth with a sad face. Let's go, the worker pushed him out of the door. Don't cause trouble. In his heart, he was angry at Gulin's actions but dared not say anything. Wasn't it just because he had a good pregnancy? As for not treating others as human beings. What a young lady, she is worse than a cell. Several other workers felt sorry for him, but they didn't dare to say anything. The scene became quiet for a while. Xiaoling was wrapped in the blanket brought by Wai Wei and watched the scene quietly. Unlike Gulin, she also lived in an orphanage when she was a child and suffered the hardship of having no money. Even though she is now worth a lot of money for one of her advertisements, she once went through the days when she didn't even dare to add chicken drumsticks to her lunchbox. At this time, when she saw the young worker being bullied like this, she felt angry in her heart. What's more, the incident happened because of her. If the worker hadn't praised her for dancing beautifully, why would she have been retaliated by Gulin? She, Xiaoling, has no other merits except protecting her shortcomings. Wait a minute, she called to the worker. The little worker turned his head in dismay, wondering what the beautiful female star in front of him wanted to say. It's best to let him go quickly, while it's still dark, and see if he can find another job and make more money. Xiaoling turned to Wai Wei and said, give him 500 yuan. She was a star, so she didn't have to buy anything by herself. She kept her wallet on Wai Wei. Hearing this, Wai Wei responded crisply and went to get money for the worker. The little worker was stunned at first, and then he was flattered. Miss Ye, why do you have the nerve to ask you to spend money? The 100 yuan is to supplement your labor fee today, and the 400 yuan is my personal tip for you. You did a good job today and made the shooting go smoothly. I should thank you. Before the boy could refuse, Wai Wei had already put the money into his hand. End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 268. Chapter 268. The Idiot Lady. The worker left with great gratitude. Gulin looked at Xiaoling angrily. You are trying to make things difficult for me, aren't you? I'm not as boring as you, Xiaoling said. Is it fun to deduct money from others to support the family? Her words expressed the feelings of many workers present. Even photographers and directors, large and small, couldn't help but give her a big thumbs up in their hearts. We all come out to make a living, which is not easy. We all don't have a good fortune like Miss Gu, so we all know what it feels like to only earn a little money after a hard day's work. Who can bear it if someone deducts half of your money for no reason? Fortunately, although the eldest daughter of the Gu family is mentally retarded, the female star named Yexin Ling is quite sensible. It is not easy for a girl who is so young and whose career is on the rise to be so considerate. Yexin Ling is pretty good, a photographer said, pulling the lighting engineer next to him. She's quite humane. But the lighting engineer said, the star is just putting on a show, a way to win people's hearts. The photographer shook his head. How can there be such a show? If Miss Gu is not present, I believe you. Now that Miss Gu is here, if Yexin Ling is really putting on a show, she will not offend the wealthy lady. The lighting engineer was skeptical about what he said. Perhaps, he said. After hesitating for a moment, he added, actually, whether it's just for show or not, it's not easy for her to think about the people below us. After all our hard work all year long, who is thinking about us? Here, Xiaoling's favorability in everyone's hearts is skyrocketing. Over there, Gulin was so angry that she almost jumped up. She was definitely incompatible with this vixen, and every time she met, she didn't go well. Gulin raised her head and glared at Xiaoling fiercely. Finished? Once the filming is over, get out of here. Don't be an eyesore in our Gu family's venue. Xiaoling was originally going to leave, but after she scolded her like that, it was hard to leave right away. She wrapped herself in a soft and wide blanket and sat down on a chair next to the pool, treating Gulin as nothing but air. It's a little cold, she said to Wei Wei, go get me a cup of hot tea. Hot tea was always prepared at the filming location. Wei Wei quickly poured it and handed it to Xiaoling with both hands. Xiaoling stretched out a hand, took it casually, and casually praised Wei Wei, you should serve tea as you would when serving tea to someone. You know it's good to hold it in both hands and bend down and bow your head. Wait for me after you leave Tianyi, let Sister Meina introduce you to a popular star. If you are so knowledgeable, you won't have to be an assistant. When the conflict first broke out, Gulin's voice was loud and attracted the attention of many people. Later, when they saw Yexin Ling sitting down by the pool, their eyes were shining with gossip. They were in for a good show. Everyone was paying attention to what was going on here. At this time, hearing what she said to her assistant, they almost couldn't hold back their laughter. Doesn't this refer to Mulberry and scolding Wei? Wei Wei is sensible, has eyes, and can be an assistant, but what about Gulin? Isn't it that he is ignorant, has no eyes, and can't even work as an assistant? Gulin also heard the implication of her words and was extremely angry. Yexin Ling, what do you mean? That's what it means literally when it comes to fights. Who has Xiaoling been afraid of? Sister Meina on the side rubbed her forehead, feeling a little headache. Xiaoling is a child with a prickly temper and a bad temper. She doesn't know how to give in. She pinches wherever she goes. Fortunately, this child is born with fighting ability. He won't suffer much from a head-on confrontation. He can bully others without help, otherwise, Sister Meina would really be impatient to help others fight every day. She sincerely felt that she was fighting because of work, and Xiaoling. Xiaoling seems to be born to like fighting. She guessed right. Xiaoling was born to be the type who gets more energetic the more she pinches her. At this time, she looked at the retarded eldest daughter of the Gu family with a particularly energetic look. Bite me if you don't like it, bite me. The camera lens has already, after turning it off, she revealed her innate nature of being a pickpocket. There was a slight color on his small face, with his head tilted, and his bright eyes that made people unable to take their eyes away. How come the words that are obviously so rogue and mean come out of her mouth so cute? Yexin Ling, you bitch, Gulin screamed. No, this is not mean. Beside, a group of men were watching silently, howling in their hearts, they are so cute. Cute. This girl named Yexin Ling is not stunning at first glance. After a long time, she is just beautiful and attractive. But, Once she shows such a bright expression and reveals her true nature, it is simply cute in seconds. There is air every second of the day. It's a pity that Boss Pei Zion is not here and he doesn't know her identity. Otherwise, Boss Pei will definitely say, you know why Xiaoling was so arrogant and willful in her last life, and I have spoiled her for the rest of my life without any regrets. Some girls are so cute even when they are unreasonable. It's a pity that Gu Lin doesn't think Xiaoling is cute at all. Bite me, bite me, bite me. Xiaoling's provocation echoed endlessly in her ears. You think I don't dare? Gu Lin was so hot-headed that she couldn't help but rush forward. Of course she didn't really want to bite her, but Miss Gu had a good idea in her mind. As long as she could kick her into the water, it would be considered a bite. Bad temper. I asked you to shout up. There was a plop sound, and it was Miss Gu who fell into the pool herself. Help, help, she screamed, splashing in the water. Xiaoling slowly turned her slightly sideways body back and continued drinking tea. If your lower body is so unstable, don't follow others' example of kicking others, she commented thoughtfully while drinking tea. Your accuracy is also bad. Miss Gu, you haven't even practiced women's self-defense, have you? Many wealthy ladies will learn some self-defense techniques under the guidance of personal trainers in order to deal with unexpected situations such as kidnapping. Xiaoling also learned some things after she was adopted by Pei Zion. She could tell at a glance that the Miss Gu in front of her had no foundation in self-defense. No way, the Gu family was also a prestigious and wealthy family, right? She didn't know that with Gu Lin's indolent nature, she didn't even bother to learn etiquette lessons, let alone self-defense. Gu Lin was still splashing in the water, screaming for help. Many people can't stand it. How could Miss Gu be more embarrassed? Where she stood, the water in the pool only reached her waist. Okay. Qian Yang, the director of the Gu family, had a look on his face that he couldn't bear to look at. This young lady was indeed mentally retarded. However, even if he doesn't want to take care of this mentally retarded young lady, he must take care of it. Together into Qian Yang regretted it now. He had nothing to do with fawning over the young lady. This idiot young lady was a hot potato, and he couldn't get rid of her. He sighed, took off his coat and jumped into the water, holding Gu Lin firmly. Gu Lin only felt someone grabbing her tightly. In panic, she didn't even see who it was, and threw herself into the other person's arms. Help me quickly. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weining. Chapter 269. Chapter 269. The War Between Two Women. Looking at the eldest lady holding him in her arms like an octopus, Qian Yang felt embarrassed. Her whole body was soaked with water, and the gauze dress on her body slightly outlined her curves, but she was completely unaware of it. Qian Yang felt like a fire was burning all over his body and pushed her desperately, but Gu Lin was too scared and couldn't push her away. Miss, please don't do this. Qian Yang was anxious. This posture was too immoral. How could it be considered appropriate in broad daylight? If this matter comes to Gu Dong's ears, won't he be cramped and skinned? The onlookers pointed and pointed. Xiaoling still drinks tea and watches the theater. After a while, Qian Yang hurriedly got Gu Lin away. Only then did Gu Lin finally realize that the water in the pool was only waist deep, and everyone was laughing at her embarrassment. You all, get out. She covered her exposed chest with one hand, her face turned red, and she said fiercely. The men walked out slowly. Gu Lin stood alone in the middle of the pool. The bottom of the pool was slippery. She wanted to walk to the shore, but she fell and chewed the mud again. Many people who had not yet walked out of the door turned to look at her, with unconcealed schadenfreude and prying eyes. To be fair, Miss Gu has a good figure, and given the lustful nature of men, she is still willing to look at her more. Moreover, unlike when Xiaoling danced in the pool, Xiaoling's dance clothes were processed taking into account the special terrain to ensure that she was graceful but not when she came out of the water, with a mysterious allure but not too sexy. It makes people embarrassed and immoral. So when everyone saw Xiaoling coming out of the water, they only had admiration and admiration in their eyes. But Gu Lin was wearing an ordinary dress, which clung to her body dripping wet when she got into the water. It had no sense of beauty at all, and only highlighted her sensuality. In addition, what she did before made everyone dislike her, and they didn't dare to do other things. However, it was good to see more of Miss Gu's body to feast their eyes. Their looks were too revealing. How often had Gu Lin been humiliated like this since she was a child? I was so angry that I almost cried. Get out of here, get out of here, she finally regained her footing in the pool and screamed at the top of her lungs. What happened? Suddenly, a low, somewhat lazy male voice was heard, as warm as the spring breeze. Sorry, sir, we have to clear the place here, you. Qianyang had already reached the door and saw a man with a well-proportioned figure and a handsome face going against the flow of people to enter the place, and he said quickly. Even if he doesn't like Gu Lin, he still has to protect the image of the Gu family. How can a young lady be seen by men casually when she is soaked inside? Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, he heard Gu Lin shout, "Brother Lei," then, using her hands and feet, she climbed onto the shore and ran to the new man who walked in. At this moment, she didn't care about her glory at all, and threw herself into the man's arms. "Brother Lei, oh, 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 they are all bullying me." The man who came was none other than Li Lei. Last time when Xiaoling filmed Star Wings, Li Lei didn't come with him. As a result, something went wrong and Xiaoling was asked to reshoot. This time, Li Lei learned that Gu Lin had come to the scene again. He was afraid that Xiaoling would be wronged again, so he came to visit the class in person. Due to something delayed, she arrived a little late. It seemed that she had already finished filming. He looked out through Gu Lin's crying body and saw Xiaoling sitting by the pool not far away, wearing a bright red wool blanket. The soft material lined her face as white as jade, her eyes flowing. "It's so beautiful that you can't take your eyes away." She was holding a teacup in her delicate hands, and her eyes were looking at him and Gu Lin in his arms with lazy eyes that were half smiling. Li Lei instinctively pushed Gu Lin away. It was a joke. He didn't want to offend Xiaoling over a minor misunderstanding. Finally, the relationship between the two of them eased. Gu Lin staggered when he pushed her, and looked at him with wide eyes in disbelief. "Brother Lei, you pushed me." Li Lei said, "Sorry, I'm here to find someone." As he said this, he walked towards the pool and stopped in front of Xiaoling. His originally emotionless tone was replaced by a gentle and charming tone. "Xiaoling, has the film been shot?" Gu Lin was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. How could this be possible? Didn't Brother Lei break up with this stinky vixen? Why are you still looking for her? No, we can't let them continue to struggle. Gu Lin walked up to them in 3 steps and said loudly, "Brother Lei. She was the one who bullied me. She just kicked me into the water. Wow, look at me, I'm soaked all over," she said. Then, he wanted to rub against Li Lei again. Li Lei cleverly avoided it. In the studio, the men who were slowly walking out stopped when they saw that there was something good going on. Hearing Gu Lin confuse right and wrong like this, she felt very disdainful. What? She was obviously trying to push Xiaoling, but Xiaoling got out of the way. She couldn't hold back her feet and fell into the water. How could she be so shameless? Someone else pushed her? But who is that man? The lighting engineer pulled the person next to him. "Miss Gu likes him very much. Didn't you hear her call her brother Lei? It should be Li Lei, Tianyi's big boss, the one who had an affair with Ye Xinling before." It is said that he and Gu Lin were childhood sweethearts, so Gu Lin targeted Ye Xingling like that. Wow, the gossip hero. A group of people are becoming more and more motivated to watch a good show. Qian Yang chased people away several times, but everyone was reluctant to leave. After all, this is the venue of an advertising company, and it is just a cooperative relationship with Qian Yang. Qian Yang doesn't want to go too far, so he has to let them stay here. I was worried, so I stayed to watch the development of the situation. Xiaoling is quite satisfied with Li Lei's performance. As for women, especially when love rivals are at each other's throats, whichever side a man stands on will give a big face to the other side. Although she had not yet agreed to get back together with Li Lei, and Gu Lin was not a love rival in her eyes, she felt extremely relieved that this man was so smart and helped her overshadow Miss Gu. As soon as classmate Xia Xiaoling was in a good mood, she greeted Li Lei with a smile, "Come and have tea." Hand the half-drunk tea in front of him. Li Lei didn't mind either. No, not only didn't he mind, he was so happy that he took the teacup and took a sip from where Xiaoling had taken a sip. Xiaoling is willing to give him her tea. Does this mean that she does not regard herself as an outsider? Gu Lin looked dumbfounded on the side. She remembered that Brother Lei had been very picky since he was a child. If he hadn't encountered a tough environment such as surviving in the wild, he would have wanted the best material enjoyment, drinking half of what others had drunk. Tea. How can it be? Why would that stinky woman Ye Xingling dare to treat Brother Lei like this? End of this chapter. Rebirth of the Entertainment Circle, Return of the Queen. Author, Xia Weiniang. Chapter 270. Chapter 270 Gossip Male Protagonist. Gu Lin was very unhappy and said to Li Lei, "My family has the best Mingqian Longjing. Brother Lei, if you want to drink tea, I'll ask Dad to make some for you. It's much better than the random tea that anyone can buy outside," she said and glanced at Xiaoling provocatively. Xiaoling just smiled and raised her chin to indicate the tea in Li Lei's hand. "Does it taste good?" Li Lei dared not to say that the tea she gave her was delicious. Naturally, he nodded repeatedly, as obediently as a big cat. Gu Lin couldn't stand it anymore. "Brother Lei." Mingqian Longjing, Li Lei then turned to look at her. "The last time I went to see Grandpa Gu, he gave me a lot. It's probably the best Mingqian tea in the past few years. I won't see you again." Li Lei is very knowledgeable about eating and drinking, and the Gu family's tea is indeed a treasure. Hearing what he said, Gu Lin's face lit up. "Isn't that right? My father went to the tea garden in person and stared at what they picked. That means he is rich and discerning. Unlike some people who only deserve to be on the filming set. Drink some tea stems and powder. Brother Lei, if you like my tea, come home with me and I'll get you some more." She started acting coquettishly. On the side, Xiaoling Ching said softly, "Don't go to so much trouble, ordinary tea is just fine." She has never understood tea art and other elegant things that require meditation and slow sipping, and she said it openly without feeling embarrassed. "I can't tell the difference." "Of course you can't tell the difference." Miss Gu finally found one thing that could overpower Xiaoling. Her sense of superiority suddenly exploded and she became arrogant. "How can you afford good tea with a poor status like us? Like us, the Gu family and Brother Lei have been drinking Mingqian Longjing and Junchen Yinzhen since they were young. Just hold your tea stems and drink it yourself." In fact, Gu Lin couldn't tell the subtle differences between the tea leaves, but she showed off her style in front of others. "So, there's no need to waste it," Xiaoling said. "I'm sending tea to Brother Lei. Which turn is it for you to ask?" Gu Lin squinted at her with disdain. "Actually," Li Lei said, "last time, I gave all the tea that Grandpa Gu gave me to Xiaoling." "Ah! What? Shall I wipe it?" These sounds were not only made by Miss Gu Ling, but were also mixed with the exclamations of many onlookers. "What kind of thing is this? Miss Gu was so passionate about recommending famous tea for a long time, but the boss just used it to make another girl happy? Tisk, 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 that's too cruel. It's so sad and satisfying to torture. The group of photographers, directors, and prop masters present just wanted to take out a few bags of melon seeds to eat. The twists and turns in the plot were worth the price of admission. Qian Yang is almost crying. Miss, can you be more embarrassed? That's why I said there's no need to waste it. Xiaoling's voice was still clear and shallow. I haven't finished the tea last time. Li Lei also gave me a lot of Dahongbao, Taiguanyan, etc. Actually, isn't it just tea? What's the difference in drinking it? In his previous life, Pei Xian liked to drink Biluakun, and Xiaoling followed him to drink Biluakun all her life. In fact, her taste is on the sweet side and she doesn't really like drinking tea. She just accepts whatever is given to her. Gu Lin felt waves of anger rushing straight to the top of her head. This stinky woman. Vixen. What qualifications do you have to drink her Gu family's tea? That was the Mingqian Longjing that my father brought back from Jiangnan with his own hands. Normally, the treasure is extremely valuable, but despite how generous she just said it in front of Li Lei, in fact, if there wasn't some important entertainment, her father would not even be willing to drink it. Smelly woman, stinky woman, stinky woman. Gu Lin waited for Xiaoling fiercely. You don't deserve it. Then she turned to Li Lei and said, Brother Lei, I don't allow you to give my tea to outsiders. Li Lei frowned. This little sister of the Gu family is really becoming more and more ignorant. However, he didn't plan to argue with her. He just asked Xiaoling warmly, Are you tired? Come on, go change clothes. I'll take you to eat delicious food in the evening. Okay, Xiaoling smiled and put on her slender face, putting her white hand in his outstretched palm. She stood up. You, Gu Lin's eyes turned red, you can't do this. Men and women can't be intimate with each other. Everyone is going to faint. What's the reason? Miss Gu, what age is this? Xingling just put one hand up according to social etiquette, but you yourself just wanted to stick to Boss Li. They looked at her with more and more contempt. Xiaoling looked at her with a smile. Miss Gu, please give way, you're blocking the way. She always knew how to make people mad, so she deliberately showed her affection in front of Gu Lin and put her arm around Li Lei. With her arms, her petite body leaned into his arms. The male prop beside her was also very cooperative, holding her waist firmly with one hand. The man is handsome and the woman is beautiful. Together they are like a pair of flawless beauties, blinding many people's eyes. Gu Lin couldn't bear it anymore, and she thought in a hurry, I just got into the water. I also want to change clothes. No, Brother Lei, please don't leave, I'm cold, I'm very cold. Seeing that Li Lei was about to take Xiaoling and walk away, Gu Lin's words were incoherent. Cold. Li Lei glanced at the air conditioner and saw that the temperature was quite low. Moreover, Gu Lin had just fallen into the water, and when she got ashore and was blown by the cold wind, she would definitely be cold. Considering that she was his family friend's sister, he didn't want to go too far. He stopped. When Gu Lin saw that there was something going on, she quickly pretended to be pitiful and hugged herself tightly. It's so cold, Brother Lei, can you ask Xingling to put the blanket on her body over me? She's so cold after wearing it for so long, it should be warm enough. You can't watch me get cold, right? The soft wool blanket that Xiaoling was wearing was bought when she and Li Lei were shopping in Paris a long time ago. The color Li Lei chose matched her skin very well. At this time, Li Lei looked at Gu Lin, then at Xiaoling and the blanket she was wearing. Gu Lin was right. Xiaoling had been wearing it for a long time, and the water droplets on her body were almost dry. Her little face looked red, and her expression was lazy and peaceful, looking comfortable and leisurely. On the other hand, Gu Lin was dripping with water all over her body, her lips were purple from the cold, her teeth were chattering, and she looked particularly embarrassed. What would Li Lei choose? The onlookers opened their eyes and pricked up their ears. Does the young boss care more about his childhood sweetheart Bai Fume, or does he like the cute little star who is obviously not so stupid? What a difficult choice. The prop master actually found a bag of melon seeds and said while eating them. The assistant director on the side grabbed a handful and ate them together. If it were me, I would choose Bai Fume. From then on, I would get a promotion and a raise, become a general manager, become a CEO, reach the top of my life, and become a winner in life. TCH, good prospects. The chief director came over to eat melon seeds together. Can I be as tough as you? I have already been a winner in life. It is only right to choose Yexin Ling. Marry the eldest daughter of the Gu family. Tisk, tisk, you are a loser. Ah. Then we have to be well matched, Jian Yang retorted weakly from the side. Besides, Boss Li must have disdain for Yexin Ling, otherwise he wouldn't have broken up in the first place. When everyone thought about it, it made sense, but they were speechless. I can't help but look forward to it even more. Faced with two beautiful girls, what choice will Big Boss make? End of this chapter.